So that being said, it's 4:07 p.m. I will call this meeting of the Putnam County Planning Commission to order. Anything that we do today will go to the Putnam County Board of County Commission for their approval. Our role today is merely to recommend approval or denial of the case that is coming before us. The first case that we have, and the only case we have on today's agenda, is PUD 20-002. Where did everybody go? And I don't think I did that.
Jerry, we're seeing your screen.
Mr. Hafner, you've shared your screen there.
I screwed up, in other words.
That's okay.
Jerry?
I got it.
I'll see your email.
I can't believe that I could ever do anything wrong.
I fixed it. Oh, no.
I was trying to get it to where I can look at my agenda and everything at the same time.
Right. If you just minimize your window, you should be able to pull up a secondary one. But unless you want us to see what you're working on.
How do I minimize that window? Oh, the large one you're talking about. Oh, well, never mind. Let's go.
Okay, there's very little on the agenda today, but PUD 20-002. Mike, you're making the presentation today?
Yeah. Madam Chair and Planning Commission, this is an application by Bart Satsuma LLC to amend the River Villas Planned Unit Development. River Villas PUD was originally adopted by the county in July of 1994 under Ordinance 94-21. And as it was approved, the project included a total of 124 manufactured home sites, recreational amenities, and central water and sewer system, all on approximately 31 acres. The request today by the applicant and owner is to amend the agreement. As adopted, paragraph 3.42 of the PUD agreement states that side yard setbacks, and this is within the actual development, so it's between the side yards for the various sites for the manufactured home sites. As adopted, the agreement states the side yard setbacks will vary in width, but in no case are structures to be placed closer than 20 feet apart from another structure or its structural improvements. The applicant has requested to allow this required separation between structures to be reduced to 10 feet from the 20 feet. The primary reason given is that today the manufactured homes that are being utilized are wider than the previous ones that were being utilized back in 1994. And each of their sites, they include a carport, and they have, because of this small size as originally platted for the sites, they've run into a difficulty placing and utilizing all the sites with that 20-foot setback. Staff has talked to the planning building department and the building official and the fire marshal. Both of them are comfortable with the reduction from 20 feet to 10 feet. The change is consistent with other parts of the comp plan. It's compatible with the surrounding uses. And with that, staff recommends the proposed amendment to the River Villas PUD to allow structures to be placed no closer than 10 feet from other structure or structural improvement. We recommend approval and recommend Planning Commission send that recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for adoption. Any questions of staff?
Any questions of staff? Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. Was that 20-foot put in there originally because of the concern with fire?
I really, to be honest with you, Jerry, I don't know. it was, because it was well before my time, I'm not sure why it was in there. I could not find anything in any of the original staff reports which indicated why they settled on that 20-foot distance. But I did, as I indicated, staff did check with the fire marshal and with the building department on that reduction, and they were both comfortable with allowing that.
Okay.
And there's roadway both in front of and clearance behind these units, right? So fire apparatus could get in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? I know we have Mr. Klobstad, I hope I didn't murder that name, here with us to speak. He's the owner and one of the owners. Both owners are on, the other owner's on the phone. Would you like to address the commission, sir?
Sure, I can do a brief introduction of myself. I'm Barry Klopstad. Along with my business partner, Ross Perkins, we bought River Villas about a little over 4.5 years ago. So we've added almost 10 new homes in the community and really enjoy enticing more residents to choose Satsuma as either a permanent or a secondary home. And it's certainly just been a learning process regarding the PUD, and again, as was previously mentioned, some of the guidelines that perhaps don't necessarily apply to the newer homes. But I think everything has been characterized by Mike and through my other business partner, Ross Perkins. So I think we don't have any questions or comments really to add at this point.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the owner applicant? Hearing none. Mike, do we have any public comment that has come in in favor of this PUD agreement?
Now, we've received no comments either way on this.
Okay, so there are no comments against it either. Hearing that, what is the pleasure of the board? Do you want to put it on the table for discussion?
I'll make the motion, move to put this application on the table.
Okay, Mr. DeSantis has made the motion. Do I hear a second? Mr. Danzler raised his hand first. Mr. Danzler seconded it. I'm going to do a roll call vote. Joe Roberts.
I say aye.
Tom?
Yes.
Aaron Fortner?
The motion is to approve this, right?
Correct.
Okay, yes.
Jerry Hafner?
Yes.
And Joy Froelich?
Yes.
And the chair votes aye, so you have an unanimous approval. Thank you very much for your patience and time in bringing this forward and helping people make Satsuma, Florida their home. We appreciate that, and we know you're doing this from afar.
Yeah, we are, and thank you for inviting us to participate and addressing our concerns. So we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye-bye.
You don't have to sit and listen to the rest of our meeting, which could last very long tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. What I'd like to do now is go through the minutes of the previous meetings that we have to review for review and approval. Let's take them one meeting at a time and go through them and see, are there any corrections, additions, or omissions that need to be made to the minutes of June the 10th? Okay, being the English teacher that I am, on page 3 of 6, paragraph 4, line 2, Ms. Harsey said that the use, not they use. So the use was a thrift store, and that's the only thing I had found. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as amended for June the 10th?
So moved.
Tom DeSantis, and second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Okay, Tom and Aaron. All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Chair votes no. Chair votes aye. I'm sorry. Yes. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, the Planning Commission minutes. This was a called workshop on June 24th. So These really are not minutes to be approved as such, but they are notes from our meeting. So are there any corrections, additions, errors, changes, or whatever to these?
I was not
Alrighty. Okie dokie. Then I hear a motion to approve these notes.
So moved.
Second? I'm
Aye.
looking. Joe? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All righty. The next one is July the 8th. This is a fairly long set. Do I hear any concerns, questions, or issues on this one? Okay, I do again. On page 1, the second paragraph under call to order. That paragraph's a little garbled. If we could correct it to read that Ms. Roberts announced that she had sent an email to all members about an advertisement that could have been a violation of the Sunshine Law, and she apologized for the error. And then that Mr. Danzler noted that he also sent an email to the members. Ms. Roberts asked that in the future, if information needs to be shared with everybody on the board, that it be sent through staff for distribution. Does that sound okay to everybody?
Yes.
All right. Anything else? Do I hear a motion for approval?
I so move.
Okay, Joey got in there first and
There we
Aaron
go.
second.
There we go.
Okay, got a competition going here. That's good. All right, then we have the meetings of July 22nd. Anything else? Anything on that? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes or the notes of July 22nd?
I'm in a meeting.
I don't think we could approve the minutes as stated.
Okay, Tom, and a second? Do I hear a second to approve
I'll
the
second.
notes?
Second.
Okay, got Joey. All righty. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed,
Aye.
like sign. Chair votes aye, so those all pass unanimously. Looking at tonight's agenda and what we've got to go through and finish, plus that we've got the maps coming up to look at, are you all comfortable with dropping another meeting in on 2 weeks from tonight, a workshop to finish up? Because we're going to be here a good while tonight and getting through just the land use element. So are you all comfortable with a workshop on September 23rd?
I'm fine.
I think this will be our last called workshop on the comp plan. And then we get into the land development code, and we're going to pace ourselves royally on that.
Will that be a meeting like this at 4 o'clock?
You want to do it at 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock? You tell me.
I'd like 6.
You like 6?
Better for me.
6 o'clock's better for you?
That's fine.
All right, let's do 6 o'clock. It'll be a Zoom meeting unless something drastic happens and we open back up. And it will be a workshop to finalize our first major review. We'll send it back at that point to staff and the consultant, and then they will bring back to us at our regular meeting in October just one final pass so we can approve our recommendations to send on to the county commission. And what we will do, hopefully we'll be able to spend the bulk of the time on the 23rd doing the maps, because that's going to be extensive. So looks like we're getting close, people. You've done wonderful, wonderful work. Do need to do one piece of housekeeping back on the PUD. need to check and see if we did site visits. Joe, were you able to do a site visit?
Yes.
Joey?
Yes.
Jerry?
No.
Tom?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
All right. Okie dokie. Well, that takes care of that little piece of business. George, are you with us yet? There he is. Nancy's handing me a note that says we didn't vote on the August 17th minutes. I guess I just kind of, August 12th meeting minutes. Do we have those? They're in there. She's pointing to my package. Okay.
What date were those sent out to us?
They were sent out with everything.
On Friday, last Friday.
Got 3 of them.
Yep. August 12th was sent out, may have been included in something, but it's the meeting of the August 12th regular meeting of the Planning Commission. Does anybody have any changes, addition, or deletions to those minutes?
No.
Okay, do I
I'll
hear?
move to approve them.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. All right, we got through that. Now I can hand these over to staff and they can do their thing. Hopefully I haven't messed up things too badly here for them. George, could you give us a report from your meeting with Jake Kramer? Thank you. You need to unmute. There you go.
I'm working the mouse there. Just a very short synopsis. I had about a half-hour meeting with Mr. Kramer. My take on the meeting, quite frankly, it was very friendly. It was not confrontational at all. His primary concern was he wanted the Planning Commission to consider these 3 primary topics that he listed in his letter. I've summarized what we discussed in an email that I believe all the Planning Commission members have. To make it short, it's not very clear, but I believe he is in somewhat of a position representing the Farm Bureau in their overall position here in the county. And their biggest concerns are the agricultural best practices mandates, as well as the agricultural density issues. After listening to our last meeting, he was pretty satisfied or happy with the position that the commission was taking as far as agricultural density, so we didn't discuss that too much. He thought the commission was pretty spot on in their consideration there. The one issue he does continue to bring up about the US 17 corridor study is that if it were implemented in 2023, 2024, it would allow for investors and others to be able to consider land in Putnam County sooner. Speculation, that type of thing, versus if it were implemented a couple years later, about the same time that the expressway goes in, then most investors that were considering property may not look at Putnam County as hard because they don't know what the rules are going to be. So that was his main concern there. He'd asked the commission to consider. The agricultural best practices mandates, I think, was his biggest topic. And as you can see, he even made some suggestions in there. But I guess not only is this an issue for a lot of the landowners, especially the larger agricultural landowners, but this appears to be a big issue that the Farm Bureau is championing. the biggest thing is that they want to see the freedom of the landowners, if they desire to be able to negotiate or deal with water management or other state agencies directly, that they're not allowed to under the best practices mandates. They believe that 80% of those in the agricultural committee will go by the best management practices anyway, but they believe there should be freedom there for those that one it wouldn't apply to based on their agricultural setup, such as he used an exotic bird farm as an example. And oh, by the way, there are a couple of those trying to come in here. But, and he used some of his own family example, whereas they may have some water management issues that they will, if they weren't under the mandates, then they would be able to work directly with water management or any other state agency to figure out how they could resolve those issues, instead of it strictly being by, they had to comply with the mandates. So in summary, that's pretty much what he brought up and would like the planning commission to keep in mind.
George, do you think that with the best management practices, if we were to change the shall participate in the best management practices to should, would that give them the freedom they need?
I don't know that I would change shall to should. I would consider changing shall to a different phrase, like it's
Okay,
encouraged.
okay,
It is
okay.
intent that if at all possible, and highly encouraged, that kind of language.
Okay,
I believe he gave some example language. If it's not in here, it's in my notes.
okay.
I thought was, it might be in his letter, that I thought was pretty good. That in other communities. And I understood what he was saying, that you have people out there who don't always believe the government can come up with the best idea how to solve their individual problems.
Right.
And I understood that. And he wasn't saying that the best management practices should be scrapped. He was just saying he represents a group of people that would like to see it where they had some freedom if necessary, or if they so chose to solve their own problem.
From talking to some of the ag people, I'm hearing that it's entirely possible that there will become state mandates and that there will be something that they will not be able to opt out of. But until that time, I think, does it seem that we would be well advised to use the language or strongly encouraged to participate rather than are mandated to participate?
I come from a family of farmers. I don't own any large agricultural land in this county. Our family land's in Taylor County. So all I can give you is my personal perspective. I think in the way that Mr. Kramer is recommending is a benefit to me. Most, as he put it, the studies have shown that the vast majority of agricultural participants, farmers, etc., will stick to the best management practices. But there are circumstances where they need freedom to go outside of it, or it doesn't apply to their particular setup. So this kind of is the best of both worlds. He did say that Farm Bureau would most likely be willing to send us some literature explaining or better illustrating their position if the commission was willing to review that, or if necessary, quite frankly, he was willing to address it himself. If the commission wanted to ask him questions, etc., he would better explain it. I may not be doing a real good job of doing that. I personally don't see a downside to what he's recommending, but I would defer certainly to the planning commissioners and especially to those that are involved in the agricultural livelihood as to whether or not they think it's the right thing.
Susan, can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
A couple of them. Number one, I'm on the Putnam St. Johns County Board of Directors, and I was not notified that he was representing Farm Bureau. Now, I have talked to our southern ag people again, and a couple of them were at that meeting that we still don't have no minutes from. And I don't think Mr. Kramer represents Farm Bureau. But I understand what Mr. Kramer says about the best management practices. The problem with the farmers is lately is they need to be based on scientific evidence, not what the water management district wants or whoever. We have complied, I'm talking about ex-farmer, we complied for years, and what happens is we meet those standards and then they decide to make the standards a little tougher. Then after we make the second set of standards, then they make them a little tougher again, and it's getting to a point it's too tough to do to be profitable in ag. So they're eventually going to be state mandated. Most of the farmers that I know, the row crop farmers in St. Johns, Putnam County, they are under the BMPs, because if you don't sign the intent for the BMPs, you will not get your water management consumptive use permit.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
I don't think Mr. Kramer is representing Farm Bureau out of Gainesville. He is not representing Putnam St. Johns County Farm Bureau. That I do know. Now, I don't know what happened at that meeting, because a state board of director, Jeb Smith, was at that meeting with Mike Brown that they met with Kramer, and he didn't even know why he was there. So, and he's a state director, and he didn't tell me that Jack was represented by the Farm Bureau board. Because Farm Bureau has their own guys that come to these meetings and do this stuff. If I need to, I can get somebody to show up at another meeting, but they have regular people that do this and not hire an attorney to do what Mr. Kramer says he's doing.
Well, let's be clear. He did not come out and say, I represent the Farm Bureau. He has an association with them somewhere, whether it's through his family land. And he was very clear that part of this is a personal representation of his own family-owned farmland and what their position is. But he referred to the Farm Bureau and the information he had from them and the contact he'd had with them. So I'm not here to represent that he represented Farm Bureau.
Kind of sounded like he did. I apologize, but it sounded like he was representing Farm Bureau, or he's probably a member down where he's from. He probably is a member, because anybody can be a member.
Right, but he has some kind of association with them, with the information and the knowledge. I'm not saying he's representing them directly.
Right.
And said that if necessary, he was in contact with them and had discussed this issue. So whatever position that is, all I can tell you is that's what we talked about. Like I said, not adversarial at all. He was very apologetic, but if he had ruffled the feathers of anybody on the planning commission, that was not his objective. He wasn't trying to circumvent the planning commission. He just wanted these were three big issues that one or more people wanted him to address, and he wanted to make sure the commission was aware of it.
I have a question, if I may.
Absolutely.
Ryan, what is other counties doing in this best practices issue?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Am I unmuted? I want to make, okay.
You're unmuted. You're fine.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to ramble on without hearing it. It's kind of all over the board. I will tell you that there has been a gradual migrating away from mandating best practices in local government comprehensive plans. And in fact, the draft you have before you, hopefully I haven't missed one, but I may have missed one. They either have been changed to shalls to should, and which can certainly be changed to are encouraged or strongly encouraged. And a couple places they were stricken, such as, for example, that the county will inform whoever holds the best management practice that there's a potential violation going on. Dealing with practice within the county, you're not equipped and or staffed to do that. And therefore, I simply said if it's not an operational policy, it doesn't need to be in there, at least in my recommendations to you all. So I think I've sort of taken care of the problem. We may find one that still has a shall in it, but I'll do a global search and replace one more time to make sure I haven't missed one So I think we're meeting the spirit of what Mr. Kramer is saying by those changes as they relate to the best management practices issues.
Another question is this study that Mr. Kramer's talking about on the north, out 17 area, what exactly would that entail?
Well, corridor studies and really the parameters of that study, and I've been involved in a number and have researched a number of them. It depends on what you're doing a corridor study for. Are you doing a corridor study to try to limit access onto an arterial road and finding alternative ways to find access by joining properties together or providing an alternative? So in this case, I believe the crux of the corridor study would be what lands and in what configuration should the county consider perhaps increasing densities and intensities to be available and to capture any growth opportunities that would be stemming from, in this case, in the north section, from Clay County with the opening of First Coast Expressway. As for timing, I will turn to Mike. We put, I believe, 2025 in there kind of as a date. It can be whenever the county wants. And the reason we came up with the concept of a corridor study was rather than trying to figure out a future state in an area where there may or may not be growth, frankly, depending on how much absorption happens in Clay County, at this point in time in this process is probably ill-advised and should be better, more methodically and considered in a corridor study, and then a subsequent comprehensive plan amendment coming following that if the corridor study shows that there are changes that are necessary or are recommended to the county.
Is a corridor study speculative and looking at possibilities or looking at hard potential?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be the answer.
Part of it, and Madam Chair and members of the Planning Commission, when we do any kind of projections, even though they may be based upon generally accepted methodologies, they're still a projection, and which means they're wrong. It's your best educated, as scientifically clear as possible, but they are projections. So, I think it's wise that the county, because you're seeing some growth, you had been, and we talked about that earlier, you've been seeing a decline in your growth over a number of years. There seems to be some sort of steadying of that and perhaps even an increase. You are surrounded by counties which are growing and growing quite rapidly. So in theory, the possibility exists that Putnam County could experience growth.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
With a corridor study, the outcome of that would lead to what on the part of the county? What would the outcome of a corridor study do as far as changes that the county needs to make?
A change in land use, whether it be just changing land use or an overlay, which might be a better way to go, because you can tailor the conditions of an overlay, whether it be access to arterials and collectors, whether it be provisions of water and sewer and other sorts of things. You can do that in a much more concentrated context, rather than trying to craft goals, objectives, and policies that would be applicable countywide in general. So it would be, a study, an examination, and an amalgamation of land use changes that you might bring forward and other conditions that should apply to this particular potential growth area.
Well,
so go ahead.
I'm sorry. I do believe that the First Coast Highway is a real it's going to affect Putnam County, and I hope it affects it good. And if it promotes growth, I'm, Lord knows the county needs to grow. I know I keep hearing that a lot of people don't want it to grow, but we need to let it, it needs growth, basically. So if a study is, if you're saying wait till 25, that's fine. I can understand that because it's really not going to come online until I think 2023, isn't it?
It depends. Yes, that's the schedule.
I question, and we will get to this in our review of the land use code, I question putting a date on anything like that that's a hard date. It bothers me to lock a group, an organization into expenditure of capital, staff time, political capital, whatever, into a process today that they were going to say they're going to do by 2025, 26. That's a whole different commission that's going to be in place. It's a whole different time frame. So I question the dates. I also question looking at one above the other, because we do have basically 4 corridors that could be impacted by growth over the next 10 to 15 years. We're seeing some growth in infill coming in from Alachua County into West Putnam along State Road 20. We're also seeing it up in Melrose. And then we're seeing growth coming in State Road 207, and also, as well as US 17 North. There's a great potential for US 17 South when that 4-laning is completed. So I understand the need for analysis and review and being ready to respond to the demands that are coming. I just hate to see us lock ourselves into a time frame.
Madam Chair, the difference that I see between this corridor and the other ones is it's an interstate highway.
Right.
When an interstate highway comes, there's a distance that, especially in the commercial side, that they're only going to be so far off that interstate highway or they're not interested.
Right.
And I think that's the point of this side.
Very good point. And I know that Mr. Hafner, you probably recall, this is something that we've been hearing ever since I've been on the Planning Commission, which was 2007 initially, that outer beltway is coming. It's coming, and we're going to be ready to respond to it. It's coming. And it is going to come now. We're seeing a date for it. So, and there is a potential impact. I mean, there could be distribution centers. There could be all sorts of things that could clean industry that could potentially go in that area. So, George, thank you very much for your painstaking work on this for us. And I felt like it was time to let you take over and handle this and be our emissary. So I appreciate that very much. Other members of the commission have anything to say or any other questions or comments about the correspondence we've received? We also have correspondence from Michael Woodward that you had in your packet. So we had the 2 different letters. Any questions or concerns or responses you'd like to give to those individuals? Aaron, you're thinking.
Well, I will say, Michael Woodward's letter did give me a little bit of pause on the blanket chin, reducing. I probably still would vote that way if that's the way everyone else is looking to, but I did go back and look at St. Johns County, for instance, and I just I don't know what I'm trying to say here, Sorry, I'm having a moment, but I don't know if it's the right thing to do or not to get rid of that Ag 2 or to blanket, because we are trying to preserve the agricultural integrity of our county. I don't think in reality it's going to make a whole lot of difference just because we do that. That doesn't mean there's going to be, you know, people knocking down the doors to put in 10-acre parcels somewhere, but it did give me a little bit of pause. I don't agree with Mr. Woodward on much, but it did give me a little pause.
Well, it also made me think a little bit more about the infrastructure demands.
Right.
And I think, you know, we don't have any sort of development fees, impact fees in Putnam County right now. And I am not a proponent of those sitting in this seat. When I was sitting in another seat, I was a strong proponent of them, but because it was a revenue generator. But I think that anything we can do to bring people into Putnam County is a good thing. But I want it to be the right people. I want it to be people that want to make Putnam County a better place, quite frankly. Saying it was the right people wasn't the right term. But I think we've got great potential. But I'm like you, I stop and think about it. And I think the decision we made last time to look toward having the higher densities accessing paved roads and the lower densities back on non-paved roads will help preserve that agrarian nature. So other comments? Tom, Jerry, Joe? Okay. Again, George, thank you very much. And I do appreciate both Mr. Kramer and Mr. Woodward taking their time to address these issues that they felt important. I think we are doing a good job. We're not going to ever be perfect. We're never going to make everybody happy. But I think what we're doing is building a foundation. We're not building the house. We're basically compacting the land, you know, bringing in the fill dirt and getting it compacted so that the county can come along and build the house on top of it. So we're giving structure to the basis upon which things can grow. And I think that's basically what this plan is doing all throughout. Let's go through, starting with the future land use element. Let's go ahead and go through the document. And I appreciate Mike, and I can't say I appreciate enough, Mike and Nancy and Mary McLaughlin, who is our new staff assistant, for all the work they've done in getting these packets ready, not only getting the information put together, but getting them sent out to us, both electronically, making them available to us on paper. I think it's easier to see this when you get to this point. I think it's easier to go through paper documents than it is to go through electronic documents. So, and maybe one day we'll get to be in person again. So let's start going through. We'll start with Brian, you want to take us through the first step of this?
Yes, please, Madam Chair, I appreciate it. I'm going to, and stop me if you want to talk about anything. We plowed some of this ground once, twice, and maybe even as many as 3 times.
Right.
I would like to hit the changes that have occurred since we last time went through this document. I think the first of those is on page number 3. And I'm just using this as an example. I don't intend to stop at every place that I've changed shall to should with regard to changes regarding best management practice. But here's the first one, and simply goes on to say should. And I'm open to encouraged to, or strongly encouraged to, but I've gotten rid of the mandate.
I think strongly encouraged to is, does that say what we want to say?
I think that's a good,
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. To kind of leave it in a gray area. I hate to say that, but
Well, and I think also that, like,
it's not a mandate, but you know, we should, it should be, you know, our wetlands and stuff should be protected with best management practice.
right. And like you said, if you want to get a consumptive use permit, you will follow those best management practices. So,
Yes, you will.
and that's not the county's job of enforcing. We don't need to be the BMP police. Let's let somebody else be the BMP police. Okay.
No.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
The next change that I'd like to bring your attention to, and it's a little bit down the road as far as where it exists in a document. I've got it dog-eared. I'm going to jump to page 22. And again, it does not mean that I'm
there.
There's more than, I'm more than willing to talk about anything that occurred in between, but I believe outside of the should, shall issue, which I'm not going to point out each every one unless you'd like me to, it gets to be a little redundant after a while. The next big change and change since you last saw starts on page 22. And this is policy A164. And again, it speaks to, with a time frame, and you've seen this before, the first one, by 2025, do the corridor study on US 17 North. I think I heard loud and clear, and Mike and I discussed it. I have also now put in 2 additional studies staggered in time, and again, time frames you'll advise me. The first one is to prepare for growth on SR 20 in West Putnam, using exactly the same language that was used in the North Corridor. The third one being prepare for growth around US 17 South. And I put them in this order simply, and these time frames in this order. One is that the last one falls within the time frame near the end of the planning horizon of this version of the comprehensive plan, or at least not towards the end of the planning horizon, but before you are to look at it again through your evaluation and appraisal process. So those are and that's why they're kind of staggered in that way. 20 is, nearing completion. 17 may be the hotter growth potential more immediately. And US 17 South is being 4-laned all the way down to the south of the county, but that's going to be a while. So that's kind of the way we put them in there. You mentioned 207 in your earlier comments. I think when we get down to looking at the maps, that will help frame that issue a little bit better as we show urban service area now moving up the 207 corridor towards the St. Johns County line. So those are the changes there, Madam Chair, members of the commission, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on those changes.
Questions and comments from the commission?
That US 17 South corridor, you're thinking that's going to be longer than the other 2? Take the longest amount of time to finish that up?
Yeah, through the chair. DOT, the south end of that project is not in their 5-year work program. So it's at least 5 years out. You're still constructing the bridge over Dunn's Creek. You're still moving that further south. You've got all the way down through Pomona and Crescent City and on down as you head towards Pearson. It's going to be a while.
I was just wondering, just because I know that Dunn's Creek Bridge has to be completed by like January or February of 21 or something like that.
It's going to be completed next year, yeah. And that takes the 4-lane down to Hoot Ridge Road. So,
Susan, on that note, what I understand is after they get the bridge finished, that they will 4-lane to 309. That was the next
Pomona,
project.
or to Satsuma,
Yeah,
and then take it down to Pomona Park, and then take it on to
and
Pearson.
eventually, yeah. The
Mhm.
next project goes to 309, and now your 309 corridor there going through Willaca, Fruitland, Georgetown, that is expanding. There's a
Yes.
lot of stuff
Of
going on.
course, a lot of that land is in a major land holding with the Trednick property.
Yes, that is. But I'm talking about the waterfront stuff. People are
Oh,
in
absolutely.
Jacksonville to be weekenders.
Yeah, the waterfront there is fast filling up.
Yes.
So that's very true, and that's a growth area. And I think the riverfront along North Putnam is filling up also, and out toward the riverfront there in that area. Other comments?
I can see the Trednick property becoming a real hot item. It could happen possibly sooner than we expect.
Well, it's still being lived upon by a member of the family. But
Susan, what were you explaining that you didn't think that there should be dates on those?
I question locking the commission into certain dates for anything.
Mhm.
And I question delineating what studies we can delineate as example, but there may be others that come up by no means that we're planning for, because they could happen because of what somebody does. If we see a major development down in the south end of Putnam County that brings in 150 homes or something like that, or residences, that's going to change the complexion of an area. The same thing, you know, you could see that happening out in West Putnam. You could see it happening up around, but you know, in the Melrose area, 26 down to Melrose. You could see things like this happening as people want to come in and do different things. So I just hesitate putting dates on things like this, because this has a lot of budget implication with it. And this is not going to be something done cheaply. Either it's going to be contracted out to a consultant to do, or it's going to take a lot of staff time to do, and then it's going to have to be implemented.
And the reason why I ask is because I agree with you. And why are we putting dates on these?
Mike, Brian?
Well, from my perspective, the dates were just basically a goal. I mean, recognize all of this, that comprehensive plan, when adopted, is not set in stone.
Right.
And can constantly change. You know, when we went through the first version of this, there were dates for things to be done that were set that were never done. So the priorities, the timing can change. New things, as the chairman indicated, might come up and may become a priority for the Board of County Commissioners and to direct staff to do. But it was basically a way, though, also to try to put a little more certainty and into the plan of saying, you know, we believe this is important and important in this time frame, giving it a time frame rather than just saying we think a corridor study on US 17 North needs to be done at some point. So that was why their dates were put in there.
Gotcha.
Is it possible, let me just run this out here, let me run it up the flagpole, to do a generic statement on corridor studies, growth studies, potential growth studies, whatever, however you all can massage those words, and have just a blanket statement that it is incumbent upon, or the county shall, as need arises, conduct growth development studies, corridor studies, on areas where growth is imminent. And also include in there areas that should be kept on watch or should be watched for the need would be the North US 17 corridor, the State Road 20 West corridor, the South US 17 corridor as examples, but not limited to just those.
There's a way to massage those words.
What does everybody feel?
Yeah, I think what you're saying is a good point, Susan. There are just too many things that can all of a sudden jump up and influence all of these at different times. I think it's something that needs to be watched very closely by our planning department as time goes on. And if we see a need for change, do the change.
And do the study and do the study and get ready. Do we have any firm, Mike, I'm asking this of you primarily, I think. Do we have any firm fishing going on up in the North Putnam area for land use?
Oh, we've had, no. I mean, I have heard rumors of speculative money coming in there, but no one speaking to staff.
Okay.
And if that's your question,
That's
we've
my
had
question.
very limited inquiries. It's been on a very small scale, you know.
And if I
5
recall correctly, in the past when we've talked about this, we've talked about that being more of light industry distribution, commercial area rather than housing.
I mean, that goes back a few years when the Port of Jacksonville was expanding and container shipping was big. There was a talk, and in fact, it was before I got here, the Williams family did a land use change, I believe a PUD up on 17 in anticipation of some of that growth, strictly in industrial and distribution uses. So that's been the only real movement that, from a staff standpoint, that is tangible. But again, that never came to fruition. And they've, just to give you a heads up, the Williams family has come in and talked to staff about maybe changing that PUD and rezoning to something else because they don't see the market anymore. No, that's their take. But
what are some things that would trigger a study of this nature being done, Mike or Brian?
I think if first thing from a staff standpoint, if we started seeing a lot of inquiries coming in, a lot of movement towards, somebody at least coming in and talking to staff about something that either probably somewhat speculative or a little more concrete, that would be something that from a staff standpoint, we would take note of and maybe then bring that forward to the Board of County Commissioners that, hey, we're seeing this, we need to take a look at it. I mean, one of the other things, and I didn't touch on with the dates, it was also to, for the county commission, if they so supported these dates, to also be aware as part of their budgeting process as they move forward through the years, that they need to put funds towards that to remind them. That was the other little thing for one of the reasons of having dates in there also.
Given the current budget picture, I'm really hesitant to put dates in there for them.
I agree, Susan, but I do think it wouldn't hurt for the county commission to look at setting up some kind of a sinking fund to throw a little bit of money into every year, so that when this need does arise, there'd at least be some of the funding available there.
And how much of this would be done through the economic development arm, and how much of it would be done through the county?
I would think the majority of it would probably be done through the county.
Okay.
Because the county has the authority over the actual land use.
Right.
Once you get into some of the infrastructure, then you may have some opportunities for the economic development piece to participate in.
Susan, wouldn't the Chamber of Commerce also be providing some kind of useful information for this type of thing?
That was my thought right there with the economic development piece.
Yeah.
Because it seems to me that they would be heavily engaged in bringing development and bringing economic opportunity into the county. And that's a close tie-in with county and, the economic development arm working together there. So I can see that being a part of the economic development element as well as this. And I also would like to see a cross-reference to whatever language we come up with on a study in the infrastructure section, because a study could also trigger infrastructure development. And so there's a lot that ties into this. It's not just one single thing. But yeah, I see it clearly being part of economic development.
In other counties, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Does the study typically come first and then development? Because sometimes developers don't want to come in and start questioning a lot because the land goes up, obviously. Where if a study is already done, I'm just asking, Brian, is there any typical in that?
If I might, Madam Chair, number one, any community who takes interest in their future as expressed by looking at areas and trying to figure out what's going to be going on is something that will attract capital investment. So if I'm looking for land and I see a bunch of stuff that's 1 to 20 or 1 to 10, or pick your number, right, very low density, and I'm thinking about doing something, my anticipation is the community just has no interest in that, right? Because that's where it is. But if you affirmatively state that you're going to take a look at these lands, you're recognizing that you're going to invest in your future by providing a logical land use pattern, by providing potentially infrastructure, and the infrastructure here is road systems, right? At least initially, that there's an investment there. There is the opportunity for return on investment. There's an opportunity, if they know what the plan looks like, that yeah, I will come in and let's say we want to build residential, because I'm pretty certain, because of the arrangement of land uses outside of just being in agriculture, that I know what's probably going to come inside of me. We all know comprehensive plans can be changed, but when you buy 100 acres of ag land and maybe get it a comp plan amendment and a rezoning, you don't really know what's going to be coming in reasonable proximity to you. That's right. Because it's all green on the map, right? And that green can turn to almost any color. So when you got more colors, more thoughtful process of the juxtaposition of those colors against one another, I have much more confidence that what I'm buying has a context that I know. It may change, and we all understand that, but it's much more certain than green on a map.
And where does our intent with urban reserve come into all of that?
Well, right now, Mike and I will present the maps to you. Urban reserve, because of the high densities, is really only applicable in areas that is served by central water and sewer, because you simply can't get the densities without that. So that's why, for example, we'll talk about a little additional of rural residential in certain areas and things along those lines. But urban service is driven by water and sewer.
But urban reserve.
Urban reserve is in anticipation. I'll let Mike. I thought I heard him want to.
Yeah, I mean the difference is urban service. You've got it, or it's immediately available, or will be real soon. Our urban reserve land use category is for areas that we believe over the next 10 years there may be services there. So
Right.
it's sort of more for a long-range planning, you know, that the services aren't there yet, but we believe they will be there.
Okay. All right. What's your pleasure, folks, on this, so we can give Brian and Mike some guidance?
I'll go ahead first, Susan. I like the dates because if you put a date on it, then it's kind of mandated that they need to look into it instead of putting it off. If you don't give them a date, they're going to put it off. But if you put a date, you can do it before then or after, but I don't know. That's just my feeling. If you give the county commission a date and your commissions change, it gives them a date that they need to shoot for. And that's only less than 5 years away on the first one at 2025. It's not very far. And your commissions are probably going to change. So I like the dates. That's just my opinion, but I'll go with whatever. It's no big deal.
I like the dates for the same reason, basically. I think it's, if you don't put a date at all, they're never going to do nothing.
That's correct.
You know, it's just never going to happen. So I think if you have something there that it gives them something that they need to work toward.
And I don't mind the dates. I would just put them all by 2027 as opposed to.
Okay. And that does make some sense. Tom, what's your thought?
Let's tell them to kick the can down the road to 2027. I'd leave the dates as they sit. It gives them a goal. If they pass it, they pass it. It's their decision.
Jerry?
No, I'm still liking the first red paragraph there. And, you know, if we want to tie it to dates, I guess that's fine. But I don't know, it just seems to me like those could vary a lot. And the dates that we put in here will not be in accord with what's going on. But,
No. I don't think the dates are going to represent reality, but that's,
yeah.
You know how I feel. Okay. Erin?
I really don't have a problem with the dates being there as a goal. As I think Mike mentioned, there were a lot of dates in our previous comprehensive plan that were not met, or
Yeah, we're taking a lot of those out.
right. But I mean, so I think putting some sort of date in there is a good idea as a direction versus just saying that we suggest you do this.
How about Joe's suggestion of by 2027 corridor studies will be completed for at least these 3 areas?
I could get on board with that.
I could go with that as well.
Tom?
I can go with that.
That's fine.
Joel?
I'll go with it.
Brian, can you make that happen?
Yes, ma'am, it's words. I can make anything happen. Make the studies happen? No, but I can make words say whatever y'all want me to.
So what we'll say is we will say by 2027, by the end of county fiscal year 2027, corridor studies should be completed for the main potential growth areas of US 17 North, State Road 20 West, and US 17 South, in anticipation of, okay.
I
And
like that because it provides the flexibility in there for those decisions to be more, you know, whichever one you want to focus on first, you can determine that at the time it needs to be done.
and it doesn't mean you can't do it before 2027,
That's correct.
but it means it has to be done by 2027. Joe, good idea.
Thank you.
All right, Brian, where are we going next?
Well, before I want to ask Mike to jump in if I jump over things that you want to talk about, Mike, because
Okay.
and I know you will, but I just want to make it. We're moving on to page 36 in my version here.
Well, let's do that.
And this is under
Yep. Rural residential, right?
Yeah.
right, rural residential. And this, we may have already talked about this change, Mike, I can't remember.
I don't think we, I don't think we did formally with the planning commission. I think we had this discussion among ourselves.
Right.
So I'll go over this since I drafted this. Basically, it goes back to some of the original discussions we had with densities early on when we first went through the planning or the future land use element, and looking at changing the rural residential land use category, allowing some additional residential density, and it's also related to the fact we are removing the density point score policy, so there was limited ability to gain additional densities. So for the rural residential, we've tied it to a base density of 1 dwelling unit per 2.5 acres. And then much like we ended up with, or we have recommended with the ag future land use, if the development directly accesses paved roads, it would be, the property shall be eligible for densities up to a maximum of 2 dwelling units per acre if each of the following conditions are met. So you basically have a range now within that future land use category. And those are, one, that you have direct access to a paved road. Development, because we're going up to 2 units per acre, the development is serviced by community scale central water and or sewer service consistent with applicable state law, and the development is not located in a special flood hazard area.
You got a couple spelling things there.
Yeah,
You'll catch those.
I've caught those, but we'll correct that.
Yeah.
As we move forward. Yeah.
Mike, I assume this means on the road portion, it doesn't necessarily mean existing paved roads. It would mean roads.
They could provide future. Yeah, someone could come in and decide they want these additional densities and could pave roads to get them.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's really the only change to the rural residential was the increase in the allowable densities, and then that density range based on certain things being in place, you can get those higher densities.
What's everybody okay with that?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian, move on.
We jump now to page 55.
Let me go to page 39.
Yes, ma'am.
It's Lake Crescent, not Crescent Lake.
Yes, ma'am. I will.
Just being from down there, I have to do that. Okay, we're going
I
to
thought
page 50.
Crescent Lake was the correct spelling.
Is it?
I thought it was Crescent Lake, yes.
I did too.
I always thought it was Lake Crescent, but on the maps it says Crescent Lake.
I thought it was Crescent Lake.
Staff will check and make sure it's correct.
Our high school alma mater was on the shores of Old Lake Crescent.
I understand.
We could put Crescent Lake, AKA.
No, no. Okay, page 55.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And this is basically what we've talked about.
Yes, ma'am. This is agriculture. It's not Ag 1 anymore. It's just agriculture. And at your all's last meeting, you directed us to figure out a way to, if a parcel was adjacent to and had direct access to a paved road, that you could take that parcel down to 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres, as opposed to what we have out on the table right now is ag as being all 1 dwelling unit per 10 acres.
Yeah.
Any questions, concerns, heartburn?
I like it.
All right, Brian, take us to the next section.
All righty. Bear bear with me, ma'am. I'm looking for my dog-eared page.
Joey, we're taking out a lot of paper for that little area down there that you used to own.
Mike, I don't have any other dog-eared pages. Am I missing something?
We took out low-density rural residential.
Yeah, we
Right.
took that out in the Ag 2.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, but that was just stuff discussed previously. Took out some of the specific policies related to specific developments, such as the Walmart distribution center, which is no longer going to happen. And we took out the point score, as we discussed.
Yeah,
Those, I think, pretty much it.
Yeah, since the last time we went through this, I don't think there's anything else in this draft, Madam Chair.
And
I have a question.
yes, Aaron.
And maybe I missed it from previous, page 71, the limited residential density exception and all that language. Was that moved somewhere else? Was that stricken? What's up with that?
Page 71.
71 and 72.
That was stricken.
Okay.
We left.
Yep.
I mean, it was originally, my belief and understanding, it was originally put in there because with the comp plan, when it was first new, giving people the opportunity over time to maybe cut out parcels. But
Right.
It's been 20 years now. We still have the family density. So if it's a family, you have an exception to densities if you're cutting out a parcel for a family member. But
Okay.
we cut out this other one for the limited residential density.
Okay. I think I was getting those two confused, and I just wanted to make sure, because I know being in real estate, a lot of people inquire with me, if I buy this, can I have an acre for my son or daughter?
Yeah, but we still
I want
have
to make sure we're not getting
we
rid of
still
that.
have the family density exception
Okay.
remaining.
And on page 88, objective A111, that does satisfy our requirement for property rights for the comp plan.
Where are we at? I'm sorry.
Page 88. We had talked at one point about how we may need to add an element for property rights, but that objective satisfies that need on page 88, objective A111.
And just to inform you, the governor did not, or I guess he actually vetoed that legislation.
Yeah.
So
That's correct.
it is not required, but we still had some policies in there, and we're recommending from the staff standpoint that we maintain those.
Okay. All righty. Anything else in the land use area? Now, do we want to do maps now, or do we want to wait and do maps later?
Sure would be good if we could meet in person and do maps at one time.
I agree.
Not going to happen, Jerry.
I mean, we can spread apart 6 feet, can't we?
It'd be nice if we could.
We can set up, if it's the desire, the staff could endeavor, as long as the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners would approve it. We could set up, I believe we could set up the boardroom. The issue will be citizens coming, because I don't think we can close them out. So that would be the problem
It's going to be interesting doing citizen input over Zoom.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion on this map? When we do, can we get some different colors? Because agricultural, rural, residential, all that looks the same to me.
Yep, me too.
We can work on that.
And the urban service, that little bit of urban reserve and urban service, it's hard to tell the difference in that too, so.
Yeah, the urban reserve and rural residential just
Yeah.
kind of go together.
Rural center, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So let's ponder that. We've reached an hour and a half of meeting. Do you want to take a brief recess, or do you want to keep going and get through this tonight? And then figure out how to do maps. What's your pleasure?
I thought the next thing was maps.
Well,
We only did the future land use part so far.
we've done the future land use element. That's what we've finished so far.
There's been very limited changes to the rest of the elements.
That's right.
I mean,
I say, let's do them.
All right.
Yeah,
Let's
following
do-
what Mike says, they were mostly cleanups and making sure and changing some Florida Administrative Code references. That work is done. The crosswalk of all of the state laws is now done
Right.
throughout the document.
Housing element, just remove the mandate for inventories and surveys of low-income housing and vacant housing. That has been removed from the county's responsibility. Anything in infrastructure that anyone sees? Brian? We've got a good bit on DD 8 and 9 that was highlighted.
DD 8 and 9. Oh, sorry.
It looks like it's highlighted in a pale orange to me. D 1.5 through D 1.53. Well, all of D 1.5.
You're on which one, housing?
No, I'm on infrastructure.
Oh, okay.
Mine shows up as blue.
that relates to the water supply plan, Brian.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's more of a comment for us internally. There still may be, to be honest, just to be upfront with you, there may be some changes to this based on the finalization of the water supply plan.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just as a general rule, anything that you see highlighted is not necessary to bring your attention to it. It's to, one, make sure that Mike and I, at the end of the day, have crossed all the i's and dotted all the t's with regard to what has been highlighted.
Yeah.
That's understandable.
Right, because otherwise we'd never remember them all.
Yeah.
It can get a little hairy. When we do the glossary at the end, can we also add a list of acronyms?
I've got it. I should have brought it forward, but I have it, ma'am.
Not to worry.
You were clear on that.
And in the conservation element, you have added some language on passive energy production
One moment.
for solar. Solar, wind power, biomass, biodiesel, microgrids, community battery storage, solar car charging. It's on page 26.
Page 26 on where are we at again?
We are in conservation.
Conservation 26. Okay.
I believe, Madam Chair, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, this was there last time.
Really, it's underlined in red.
Which means
It was there in the prior, when we went over this previously.
Yes.
Okay.
Element.
But it's new to this iteration of the comp
It
plan.
is, yeah.
Okay.
It will be new into the comp plan, but we have looked at this already.
The only thing that I see we might want to add in that section is water turbines for riverfront, lakefront property that has a flow.
Yeah.
Somebody might want that. And then cooler roofing systems with reflective coated materials. It's on your last page.
Right.
Rec and open space, I think we've not made any changes. Except you've removed, well, no, rec and open spaces, you've not made any changes.
Not any changes since the last time you saw it, no, ma'am.
Right. I'm still not happy with one swimming pool per 50,000, but I'll get over it. And then intergovernmental cooperation, there are a lot of the interlocal plans that are taken out, or interlocal agreements that have been stricken. So I'm concerned about taking out those because I think that your smaller municipalities and your smaller areas outside of the major area of Palatka are having issues with fire protection primarily. But
What page is this on?
I'm on page 3 of intergovernmental cooperation.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you do have interlocal agreements with some of the municipalities with regard to fire protection.
Okay.
Not all of them
Are necessary?
Well, no, all of them are necessary, the ones that you have, because they have
Right.
no ability to do it themselves.
Right.
The city of Palatka is the only one that has the capability of doing that potentially, and and I will at your next meeting bring you an entire list of your existing interlocal agreements.
Okay. Okay, good. Capital improvements. Are we looking at anything there? You've
Nope.
got insert five-year capital schedule table
Yeah.
when adopted in budget, and that will be done every year, correct?
Right. But
But
there,
you'll insert in Madam Chair, if I might, we can insert the one for FY 21-22. State law now allows the county, rather than amending its comprehensive plan every year, to insert the new capital improvements schedule, is that you can adopt it by resolution as an addition to the comprehensive plan. You don't have to go through the
Okay.
comprehensive plan amendment process.
It can go in as an addendum, okay. And then economic development, pretty much are staying the same.
I thought, weren't we waiting on some input from the chamber on this, Mike?
yeah, they haven't provided a whole, any significant changes. We will continue to reach out to them, but they haven't raised a lot of concerns with desiring a lot of changes to how it's written now. But we'll continue to reach out. Continue to reach out with Brian Bergen on that.
Okay. I know we talked about possibly saying that the county may engage an outside economic development agent, other than saying they will, but they have to designate an economic development arm, period, whether it be internal or external. So.
Right.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we did it. All right. What's your pleasure on, yeah, I agree with whoever's dog is barking. That's a good sign. Whoop it up there, dog. Is that yours, Joe?
Yeah, it's mine.
At least I'm not home and you don't hear Osmo screaming, so. What's your pleasure on the maps? You want to tackle them tonight, or do you want to wait, or how do we want to do this?
I would
Go ahead, Erin.
just make a suggestion, and I'm sure that this is coming and you may already have this available, Brian. With the changes that you're recommending, staff is recommending. What is the breakdown, and how is each category changing as far as terms of acreage?
I don't have it at my fingertips, ma'am, but we can certainly do that. Be happy
Okay.
to.
Recognize it won't be exact, it'll be ballpark, because.
Right.
Sure. Okay.
I would prefer to, if at all possible, be in person on this map thing. I think it's so much better.
Okay.
So would I if possible.
Do we need to involve the public on our first pass with the map?
We have to, I think. Right.
Brian, Mike?
I don't think you can leave them out.
No.
Okay.
And I might, Madam Chair, if, I might be, never mind. I was just going to say, we've really got 6 areas of change, and it might be beneficial, without getting into any details, if everybody got out the countywide future land use map, particularly the one, Mike, you sent them the one with the
big one.
Yeah, with the bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
With the red areas delineated?
Red areas, but there should be text boxes saying what we did in those areas.
Yeah. And
you have not sent us that.
Yes, Brian provided that to me on Monday, and I did not get that out, but we will try to clean up, make the colors more distinct and different, and provide that to you. That will be there along with the breakdown.
I just have one question going into this, and I don't want to open this up to really get into discuss it, but what's going on up around Floor Home, up 315 and out 100? There's a large tract of land that's identified for change.
That was one of mine, I'll be honest with you. That came from staff. Is that area has been chopped up a lot into little parcels. It was all ag 1 and ag 2.
Okay.
It has been, over the years, have been chopped up. We've run into some issues with people having difficulties because of wanting to do some development. There's some old, actually developed subdivisions.
Okay, it's just not showing on this map.
Yeah, it's staff's belief that probably would be more appropriate for the rural residential future land use than the ag future land use, just from what we've been seeing over the past 5 to 6 years up there. It hasn't been anything large, but we've seen a lot of little, single family and a lot of infilling of some of the old subdivisions up there. So that's the concept behind that.
Okay, because it just doesn't show any platted subdivisions up there.
Well, it's hard to see on these maps, but there are some up there.
Okay. All right. Well, do we want to petition the chairman of the county commission to allow us to meet in person? Jim, you're sitting there being awfully quiet. What are your thoughts on this? Mr. Troiano, can you unmute? You're muted.
He's unmuted now.
He fell asleep.
You're muted, Jim.
Looks like he's going back and forth. Maybe he's having an issue.
Let's see if I can do anything from my perspective. Where is he?
He's unmuted. J. Tro 21.
Okay, can you
It's just not picking him up.
Can you speak into your microphone? We are not hearing a thing you're saying, Jim. Try now. Nope.
I can head over there and.
Jacob will come down. Come down here.
Well, in the meantime, George, we'll let you weigh in on this. What are your thoughts on having an open meeting?
Meeting as in everybody together in one room?
Well, the commission chamber?
I'm not opposed to it. I think you're gonna have the county sign off on it, but I mean, obviously when it comes to maps, it's probably a lot better for everybody. I mean, I really don't have a say in the matter. I'm happy to go wherever. I think you could probably pull it off inside the commission chamber with the amount of attendance you've had from the public so far.
Okay. If we could keep the commissioners up in front of the area, you know, with the commissioner dais and then around the edges, and then let the public be out beyond the restraining area.
And there's always the option of providing some type of screen out in front. You can have people out in front of the building, have people out in the lobby or whatever. They usually have an option to have an alternate location if you have an overflow of public participation that can view on the monitor and hear what's being said.
And there is monitors set up in the lobby outside of the commission chambers already, so that we could utilize that if needed.
Can you hear me, Madam Chair?
I can hear you, sir.
You got me now?
Got you now.
Well, I don't. Thanks, Jacob, but I just figured it out.
I'm here to help.
So here's the man right here.
I hate it when the man walks in the door and everything starts working.
Always good with Jim. He's always himself. And I'm sorry to interrupt, so please, you continue, Madam Chair, and then when you're ready for me.
No, tell us your thoughts on our having a meeting in the commission chambers in 2 weeks to review the map and to allow the public that wishes to attend.
So, Madam Chair, if I may, I did speak with the chairman recently, and the board has adopted a practice that they have not put aside yet. So, due to our CDC guidelines, they have not been holding meetings, any live meetings, in-person meetings in chambers. So I think we would very quickly exceed the guidelines established by the CDC. So I think without further direction from the board, I think the request should still be Zoom related. Maybe we set up some maps in places like in our lobby, that's open to the public now, but I don't think we're going to be able to get this commission as well as members of the general public in that chambers for that purpose. Not at least at this time.
With proper distancing.
No, ma'am, I don't think that that's going to be allowed. I certainly can ask, and I will tomorrow. But I believe that's been the direction because of the size of this committee, or the commission, should I say, and the potential of having a few members of the general public. That's been the reason why we have not been meeting to ensure public safety.
Would it be, let me back off to an alternative, would it be possible to bring the members of the commission in and have them sort of seated in an ellipse? That might be a nightmare for Jacob. And then have members of the public zooming in?
We potentially could do that. Again, I'm going to need to get direction. I know that it's been a very steadfast process that we have not been moving forward.
Right. We don't want to open a can of worms for the commission.
And again, I think we would set precedent if we brought this,
Right.
especially the size of this commission, into that room. So, Madam Chair, I think we'd have to find, at least until we can have direction from the board that we can go back to in-person meetings, that we look at another route. Or another, at least potential. I don't think that we can get everybody in there and be compliant without creating the issue for the board of why can't they do the same?
Well, I appreciate your telling us that, and I understand what you're saying. Is it possible, Mike and Brian, to get us at least 11 by 17 inch copies of these maps?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Is it possible to get some really higher contrast colors there? So
Yes, we will get that fixed. I think it's part of a function of our copy machine some of the ink running
Yeah,
low.
yeah, Madam Chair, because I'm looking and you're making comments about the lack of contrast. I'm looking maps that I printed off my plotter, and I wasn't following what you were saying. So I'll get with Mike and see what's going on. I think
Okay.
there's plenty of contrast in the original maps, but I'm not
In
opposed.
reproduction, yep.
I'm not opposed to making many color you all want. So
Would 11 by 17 inch copies of these broken out maps be helpful to everyone?
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Even bigger than that would be better.
We
Along with the
can
breakdown,
provide
yeah.
you, we can provide you 36 by 24.
How about
But
the overall
they'd have
map?
to be hand delivered. You'd have to either pick them up or
Yeah.
have them delivered to you. Because we couldn't send those.
Those could be folded though.
Yeah, but we can get them to you. We can
36
prepare
by,
'em.
if we could have the overall map in 36 by 24 folded.
Yes, yes,
And then have the individual broken out maps, the other four, the quadrant
Right.
maps,
Yeah.
in 11 by 17.
yes. We can
That'd
get
be
'em.
perfect.
How does that work for everybody?
It sounds
Perfect.
good.
It'd be a little bit easier to see them.
Yeah.
And your outlining would probably be less covering there
Red.
too. So, okay. Can we plan to do the same thing we're doing tonight on the 23rd at 6 o'clock to do maps? Now, does this give us enough time to notify members of the public whose land is going to be impacted by this change?
Well, I mean, this part is only a proposal. Once you give us the recommendation that you support what changes on the map, you're then going to have, my understanding would be have to have a hearing to, the planning commission would take an action at a hearing, just like a regular meeting, to send, to make a recommendation to the board. That's where staff is going to need some time to be able to identify all those parcels that are recommended for change and to get notices out. That's not going to be a simple, easy endeavor, because there's
No, it's
going to
not.
be,
Hundreds.
more than a couple thousand parcels. So that's
That
where
many?
the difficulty. That's where the difficulty and timing is going to be difficult. I mean, we could still on the 23rd, have a discussion of the maps and advertise that meeting. But then for your adopting a recommendation, that's where we need, at least from a staff standpoint, I feel we need to send out letters to those that are likely to be recommended for a land use change on their property.
All right, folks, are you comfortable at all going through the quadrant maps, the 4 quadrant maps that we have, northwest, northeast, southwest, southeast, tonight, and looking at these in general, so that a month from now, or pick another date sometime early in October, we could have a public hearing via Zoom and get those letters out between now and then? Would it, if you had 3.5 weeks, have we found out whether we can pull?
I haven't figured out, no, I don't have the logistics of how much help GIS, I think it will provide us a lot of assistance on that, but I don't have an answer yet.
Brian, this is something your GIS people might be able to help us too with, is pulling parcel identification from a a shape file
Mhm.
from these areas and getting a list of parcels that are affected so we can link that in then to the database and get names and addresses.
Yeah, I mean, through the property appraisers maps, simply pinning over the new boundaries
Yeah.
should not be terribly difficult. I'll work with Mike. We'll figure out a way to make this happen. The other thing, this doesn't speak to timing and logistics, but the good news is we aren't, all these recommendations as far as land use changes are concerned provide more density and intensity to all of the lands. We're not taking anyone's currently entitled development rights from them. We're only adding to them.
Right.
So,
and we're not saying they have to develop. We're saying you may develop.
Yeah, you don't have to do the darn thing, right? So, I mean, just from a public input perspective, we're not taking anything away from anybody.
Okay. If we were to go over these maps, just the changes, and maybe look at anything else we want to see changed tonight, could we come back together, say the first Monday night in October, to review these maps with the public? Or first Wednesday night in October?
Madam Chair, I don't have the maps. I don't see where they're emailed to me.
Weren't they part of the land use element?
Yeah, they were emailed on the 4th at 11:01 a.m. And there's 18 attachments to that email. So
yeah, the maps.
And I am looking at them on the email form, and the variations and the coloring are great. So Brian, I apologize for that.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Printed version, and it's all yellow.
Yeah, we got a yellow map. We got a yellow map.
Let's talk about the yellow color for a while.
Yeah.
Which yellow? Are we talking banana yellow or lemon yellow? Thoughts?
From my perspective, I would like to see them
bigger,
and along with acreage amounts for each category changing. I would also, I know we have the old, the current future land use maps. But if we could get one printed for each of the change areas and show what it currently is. And then the new one that, shows what it's proposed to be. And I think most of them are going to be ag that are going to something else, but I'm just.
Yeah.
All right, technological people. Is it possible that you all could present this in some sort of a slideshow that everyone could view on their computer or device that they're using to access this meeting, and have it even more amplified where you could actually, whoever's operating it, one of the GIS people, could actually sit there and highlight these areas and show them to us side by side?
Yeah, I believe we can do that. Yes.
That'd be ideal.
That'd be wonderful.
I don't want to, I can share my screen, Madam Chair, with a map, if that would be the desire of the board.
Well, you want to throw one up and let us look at it?
Well, let's see how it works, okay?
This is a fairly long set.
Can you all see that?
Wow. That's pretty nice. What does everybody feel?
And again, it's late, Madam Chair, just to kind of go over the 6 areas that we've highlighted in this map and just give you a general sense of what it is.
Please do.
Okay, ma'am, I'm gonna start in the south of the county because I know South Putnam
Okay.
sometimes feels neglected, so we're gonna start down there. The box to your right, that's, Mike, you help me on this one because you know more about this.
That was the
one.
Walmart property.
The old Walmart property.
Yeah,
Just taking it back to what it is. It reverted anyhow, so we're just reflecting that on the map. I probably shouldn't have even highlighted that one because that one's just making what it
Right.
The area down south of Crescent City, I don't have my notes in front of me. I forget
That's
what the
going
name-
from ag to rural.
yeah, that's basically expanding the rural center down there.
That's right. It's expanding it north and on
Yeah.
the east side of 17.
Yeah.
Joey, isn't that area north of Clifton Road on 17?
Yes,
a bit wetland?
orange. Yeah, the orange box is the original rural center. That's south of Clifton Road on the corner of 17 and Clifton Road.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What Brian's saying that that'll be the new rural center added is north of Clifton Road next to 17. Yes.
Now, is that area swampy?
Yes, right next to Clifton Road. Yes, but up a ways it is not.
Okay. I had suggested also going out Clifton Road all the way to Old US 17.
Yes, because you got your Dollar General on the other side,
Right.
and
You've got Causey Fernery.
Causey Ferns on the left, and then on the north side of Clifton Road on that side is vacant land.
Right.
One
So
time
I
they
would-
were going to do a PUD or something, but that never went through years ago. They were going to do something, and that's high and dry up that way.
Yeah, I would expand that rural center all the way over to Old 17, but keep it fairly close down to Clifton Road. Kind of make a backward L shape.
I would say there was 20 or 30 acres in that parcel that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is. I'm trying to think of the people that used to own it. I don't know if they still do.
I can't remember. I don't.
Glover, Veronica Glover probably owns it. That was her dad's property, and
Okay.
Veronica Glover should own that unless she sold it to somebody else.
Okay. But just putting it in rural center is not going to make any change whatsoever to her property value. Maybe make it go up.
No, that would help her out.
Yeah. Okay.
That
Because
would
that'd be a
my
good
main
spot to
question.
do that.
Okay.
All
Then
right.
take us on up, Brian.
Yes, ma'am. Mike, I've made the notes on this, but you're gonna have to help me with those boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, looking at where water and sewer is in the process of being, or already exists. Staff looking at this basically south of 17 South, not that far south, but south from East Palaca, changing that to urban service because we've got water and sewer down there. And the 4-laning of 17, we're seeing a lot more development. You know, there's been a lot of rezonings, et cetera. And so we just think it's appropriate based on the definition of the category and the fact that we've got infrastructure and utilities there that we're suggesting we expand the urban service down into that area.
Would we take urban service all the way to the river and as far everywhere that water and sewer exist, or just the property abutting the highway?
This, as proposed on the map, it goes to the river, but a lot of those parcels are long parcels that go
Right.
from 17 out to the river. Not all of them, but a number of them are. It doesn't follow. It goes in a little deeper, and there's no magic distance that staff chose. That goes in more than just the on the northern end, it goes all the way over to San Mateo. And then
Right.
we sort of followed a,
Can you hold off just a minute? We're getting an echo somewhere of a previous meeting. I'm hearing myself from a previous meeting.
I'm here, Susan, too.
All right, I don't know who's got that on, but if you could mute it, please. We're back on, we're doing the minutes from earlier tonight. Is somebody watching the YouTube or? Brian, Jacob, can you look into that? We're getting overlay of earlier in the meeting.
Madam Chair, do you see Jacob?
I see Jacob sitting at his computer.
Yeah, I'm here. Somebody must be having,
Gotcha.
somebody must be playing it in the background.
Okay.
Not me.
Not me.
Okay,
Me.
Ken, do you have, are you playing the earlier part of the meeting? Okay.
If everybody's quiet real quick, let me see if I can pinpoint it.
She apologized for the error. We could correct.
Okay. It's Nancy.
It's Nancy?
Okay. Should take care of the issue.
Thank you. I know what she's doing. She's doing minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue, Mike and Brian. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was just getting in my ear and I.
Yeah, it goes, this proposed, the recommendation was to go all the way to the river. And then it wasn't exactly the, only the parcels, it included more than just the parcels adjacent, directly adjacent to 17 on the east side. And then further north, it goes all the way actually over to San Mateo. So that's what we included in that area.
We've got a lot of residential area along the river. What are people thinking about having that go to urban service? Everybody okay with that?
I mean, rural residential is allowed in urban service. So it really doesn't hurt the existing development at all.
But if somebody came in and wanted to sell their property to Wawa to build a convenience store, that would back up to somebody's $500,000 home on the river.
But we still have, but there are other policies and more important land development code and zoning issues that would come into play.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure because I know some people that live in that area. All right. Moving on up to 207.
Yeah, that is extending the urban service on the north part of 207 up. I don't know how far up it is, but you can see on the map, it's pretty far up. One of the things that after looking at this, and I haven't had this discussion with Brian, after looking at this, I would suggest on the south side of 207, extending urban service up to where the new fire station is also. And that was because on the south side of south end of 207, extending up to where the new fire station is, which it's hard to point out on this map, but there's an old antiquated subdivision there that hasn't built out, and some other smaller parcels that will have water and sewer now that potentially available because we've running it up to the new fire station. So backfilling between the new fire station and the existing rural or urban service area in East Palaca on the south side of 207, in addition to what we've proposed on north of 207.
Yeah, we had talked about going all the way to the new fire station.
Yeah, on the north end, we've gone further than the new fire station.
Okay.
I agree with that. This is Erin. I was wondering why we had abandoned I was going to call it the east side of 207,
yeah.
whatever it is. I'm glad we're going to make that suggestion.
Okay. All right. The other areas, the two out in West Putnam.
And we touched on that rural center area and why staff, again, that was just from what I've seen in the past 4 to 5 years. We've, nothing big, no major developments or subdivisions, but we've seen a lot of cutting up, and there's a lot of existing smaller parcels there. We think it's my belief that might be more appropriate. It's probably more appropriate than the agriculture future land use in that area.
And it's north of State Road 20. Or State Road 100.
Yeah.
And
north.
it's immediately across the road from Vulcan sand mine.
Right. Yeah. And that area. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, west of 315. I mean, you've got a lot of, there's a lot of, you've got a lot of rural residential there now around those lakes, around a number of those lakes. So it's just.
Mike,
yeah.
Just a quick question. Changing these on the future land use map, that doesn't change your taxes or anything, does it?
No, no.
I didn't think.
And I'm not. I said that real quick. I'm 99% sure it has no effect but I will confirm that with Tim Parker. Make sure. But
now, potentially, this could make your land value higher. If
could,
someone adjacent sold a piece of property for a higher price than it was on the tax roll, then the adjacent lands could go up. But that happens regardless of what the land use designation is.
Correct.
All right.
It's definitely something I want to know, for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
All righty.
And the same thing goes for the urban service.
Right. It'll be a universal general question to Mr. Parker as to what effect that has on his assessment of property.
And we probably need to have him present at that meeting, or at least zoomed in, to field questions from an authority standpoint. And you've taken go ahead.
And then the last area is there was discussion about bringing back the rural center in the Melrose area. To be honest with you, just from my standpoint, I'm not sure we need it. I don't think we gain a whole lot because we have commercial already on 26 and 21. And then we have the rest of the land use in that area is rural residential. And with the increase, if it goes through, the increase recommended for the densities, I'm not sure we really need to reinstitute the rural center up there, but that's just a staff perspective.
Yeah, that's Melrose.
Yeah, the Melrose area.
What rural centers then do we have left other than that one in South Putnam?
We have one at 21 and 20.
Okay.
There's the Hollister one and the
okay, they're
Flora
pink.
Home and the Flora Home. Yeah.
Okay, they're pink.
Yeah, that's not a rural center. That's
no, you're right.
That's conservation.
Yeah. But if you go out to Brian, go out to the west to 21 and 20, that intersection.
Yeah, there's a little
Right-
pink
right in
sliver up there.
Yeah, there's an existing rural center there.
Know who it is.
Have, and then you have one at, like I said, Hollister,
Mhm.
just east of Interlochen. And we still have the one up in Florahome.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of what other ones we have.
Do we have anything up
We have
around
one at
Bostwick?
there's one at 315 and 315 and 310. There's a,
Mhm.
a
Is there
small
one in the
rural
orange
center.
mill? Any
No,
in the
the
orange
one-
mill?
No, and from a staff standpoint, I don't think we need one because we're expanding the urban service area up to that area.
Okay.
So I don't think I think we've got it covered for growth from having the urban service land use rather than a rural center in the Orange Mills. So those, I think, are the only ones that we have existing.
I thought we looked at one at 308 and 309.
There was one there. It's, oh, you're right. There is one. That's right. At 17 and 309.
17 and 309.
Yeah, 308. Yeah, in section where the where
Yeah, I see the pink there. But
yeah.
I was thinking at 308 and 309 down in Fruitland. I thought that was.
That may.
I think it is.
Hold on. Let me look on my. I've got a 36 by 24 map.
Okay. I
Yeah,
think that still is.
Yeah, Madam
Yeah,
Chair.
that may still be one.
I believe that's correct right here.
Yes.
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
My
Yes,
old
you
guy-
are correct. Yes, Madam Chair, that is one still.
Okay.
Madam Chair, for the next meeting, I'll go ahead and highlight, have a map available that highlights the rural centers.
Okay. Okay.
That way, because they're kind of hard to see. They're pretty small and they're kind of hard to see, but yes, ma'am.
All right. Let's go back to the calendar. When do we want to have this meeting? Now, we can do this at the end of our October meeting if we want to. But Mike, how many cases do we have on your whiteboard?
I have 4 for sure. And
So
there's a good chance of a 5th one.
So we're looking at an hour, hour and a half at least, if there's no controversy, with our regular meeting. Do we want to continue the regular meeting and just do the map portion afterward?
Yes, sure.
Mike, does that give us time to get the advertisement out? That's a month from now.
It will be tight. And Nancy's probably
Screaming.
got a voodoo doll of me ripping off the head right now.
She probably has me too, so let's not worry about that.
Mike, I do
We're
want to
together.
know about the tax situation with changing those.
Okay, I can find out from Mr. Parker on that.
Shoot us an email on that, Mike.
Yep, will do.
On 17 and look at the rural centers. I haven't seen them too much on the maps. Never shown up on 17 for some reason.
Yeah, we need to get that so we can see the maps.
Okay.
You'll send those out to us, won't you, Brian?
Yes, ma'am.
Good man. All righty. Yeah, the green printed yellow. It may be.
I think it was probably an ink, running out of ink issue on our end.
It could have been a running out of ink.
I apologize.
You might have been low on blue ink. But okay. If we have to put the map review after the October meeting, we will do it. Okay?
Okay.
Mhm.
Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
We want to do it right. We can stretch this out more if we need to. That's not a problem, okay? All right, is there anything else for the good of the order?
Susan, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I have a concern with the Zoom meetings on these maps. Is there any way we can talk with Terry Turner?
You must have missed the conversation that we had, Ken.
Right, I definitely
earlier.
missed it if we had it.
We had it. Jim weighed in on that, and he said he doesn't think there's any way that we can have an in-person meeting with the maps. What we're going to do is we will be provided with a 24 by 36 inch overall map of the proposed map. And we'll be provided with 11 by 17 inch copies of each of the 4 quadrant maps. But given the current CDC guidelines, we exceed the size of the county Board of County Commissioners, and Jim feels like that there is no way we could do that, as much as we'd like to. But you will have copies that you can, and they will mail those copies to us as soon as they're available.
I'd just as soon pick mine up. That way I know I've got it.
Okay.
But I'm here in town, so it's easier for me.
I can pick mine up too.
We will let you know as soon as we've got them.
Okay. And if you want it mailed, say so, they'll mail it. It took me 2 days to get mine. I didn't get mine. It was mailed out Friday. I got it yesterday. That was just because we had a holiday weekend, so. But anyhow, unfortunately, we cannot meet in person right now or anytime forward. Brian?
Susan, then are you going to cancel the 23rd meeting then?
Yes, we no longer need to meet on September 23rd.
Okay. Just want to make sure that was clear.
We're going to be apart for a whole month. It was 3 weeks this time, so we're stretching it out. We're going to be apart for a whole month. The hour's late. I know you're tired.
Hey, another month, we might be able to meet.
You never know.
I know.
We just have to wait. Pardon?
Wait until after the election, we'll be able to meet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
It's Jim calling. Just a thought. You know, I know we talked about placing the map in our lobby. You know, I know we can't meet in person, but we certainly could try to do something again by Zoom.
I think we can. And I know we talked about putting the map in the planning department lobby. If we could put one maybe over in the, if there's room for one over in the supervisor of elections offices, maybe a couple of them downtown in the county facilities downtown, maybe one in each of the county annexes out in the Interlochen and Crescent City. Put them there so people can go see them and list
we
locations.
certainly can ask the constitutional officers to put them in their lobbies.
Yeah.
And find locations for that. We certainly could facilitate that.
And we can advertise that they would be available prior to the meeting time, not during the meeting, but prior to.
Okay. Whatever your desire, we can make that happen.
That would give the public a chance to have looked at it. I think our key is going to be explaining what it means to go to rural service or rural reserve or urban service, and B, clarifying the tax issue are going to be the two biggest.
Okay.
Anybody else disagree with that?
I think you were right on your tax issue. It's going to go off of the sales, not what you have to work with.
Right.
If there's a sale, they can justify they can justify raising and lowering. Without that sale, it's a speculation, and property appraiser can't work on speculation.
So Mike's going to get a clarification from Tim Parker. And I will be in contact with the commission over the next month. Let them know where we stand, what we've gotten done. Aaron, your thoughts?
I just have a general question. I know the answer to this already, but I want to make sure that I know the correct answer. So we changed this. I'm thinking of 207 corridor because it's a lot of farmland. The zoning still stays the same, and the green belts are still in place.
Right.
I mean, until they change that themselves, or somebody buys it and changes it, none of that is going to change, correct?
Right. Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
As long as it stays a potato field, it's a potato field.
Yeah.
Joe, your thoughts?
You know my only question. I just want. I mean, I assume that when you change it in the future land use, it doesn't do anything until you change your zoning, more or less. So, I mean, again, I just want to clarify the tag situation.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're the land use basically gives you the ability to change the zoning to match
to what it is,
want.
and at that
Yeah.
moment, yes.
Yeah.
Jerry?
I'm good.
Joel? Joey?
I'm good. Everything's been answered.
Ken?
I think I'm happy.
Tom?
Fine. We're going to meet now the first Wednesday in October.
At 4 p.m. At 4 p.m. Right. Our Wednesday meetings usually, our regular meetings are at 4 p.m.
Right.
All right. Once again, let me say thank you very much to everyone, especially to Mike and to Brian and Brian's staff and Mike's and Jim's staff for all that you do to help us facilitate this. It's been an interesting ride and we're still on it. I will note to those of you who are at-large appointees, and I can't tell you who you are right now, but this is the year that our terms for at-large appointees are up for reappointment. So please be in thought about whether you are interested in being reappointed and would like to be reappointed. If I have my say-so, this board will stay intact for another 4 years until we finish the land development code. So that will be coming up, something that the commission will be dealing with. I will also find a time over the course of the next probably 4 weeks to sit down with Paul Adamczak and bring him up to date of where we are and let him know what's going on with the Planning Commission in general, but mainly the comp plan. So he won't be coming into that totally cold and have a problem with us. So anything else? That being said, it is 6:26 by the big clock on the back wall. We're adjourned.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.